Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I have a beautiful guest with me today. I had the pleasure of coming over to a bit of a housewarming celebration with this girl a couple of weeks ago, Melissa Fernandaz. Hopefully, I got it right. Melissa is half English, half Indian, also spent half her life living in Dubai, graduated with a Master of Arts, major in counseling and behavior management, also a qualified coach, qualified nutrition coach, master in fitness and NLP. Would love to talk about that. I've actually got my own as well. She also runs two businesses that impact people around the world. She has a counseling business where she focuses on helping people work through breakups and healthier relationships with themselves and others, and also has a health and wellness network marketing business where she's built a team over 8,000 people that have generated over $2 million. Incredible. Also also a recent author and a host of her own podcast herself. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful Melissa Fernandaz. How are you doing?
Oh, hello.
Mwah.
Oh, hello. What a beautiful introduction. I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me and for everyone listening.
Thank you for giving us your time, and I know the value that you've got. It's a reflection of the results you're achieving in your life and the people that you have in your life. So I just can't wait to hear where this podcast goes. I would love to start with this. I always say it's the glass of wine to the bottle. I would love to hear who are you, Mel? Oh, someone's trying to call me. We'll hang up on that first of all. Who are you? Tell us who is Mel? Tell us your story. Tell us how you've gone from where you are today, and go as little as much detail as you choose.
All right. I love it. Talking about moi. That topic would probably be a little bit scary for me if you asked me that about 7 years to talk about me. But now I'm like with so much confidence and so much development that I've done, I think it's super important to be able to speak about yourself. So a bit about my journey. As you mentioned before, I grew up in Dubai. Everyone, when I say that, go, oh my God, Dubai, that sounds so cool. What was that like? But growing up in Dubai for me was very different to what you see. I grew up in Dubai where it was literally just a desert. There was nothing there. The before photos of the two buildings, that was the building I grew up in. And then when you look at the after photo, it's just grown so much. And I watched that country innovate, grow, and develop. And I learned a lot being in Dubai growing up as a child and watching that development happen in a country. It was so cool to see. So to give you a bit of a background on growing up with my parents, I grew up in quite what you would say, a dysfunctional family. My dad worked extremely hard. He was never there. He owned his own business. He was in travel, hotel, tourism. That's hence the reason we were in Dubai. Mom also had her own business as well. So you can see I grew up in a family of business. So I'm so grateful for that and learned a lot of skills. But what also happened was because dad was working so hard, we never got to see him. So I never really had a relationship with my dad. And then over time, we found out that dad was having multiple affairs and cheating on mom. So growing up, there was always fights going on between mom and dad, and she never ever left him. Because she was staying with him, she loved him so much, and financially she was holding on to that with him and didn't know how to be financially independent. So that taught me not to rely on men to be financially independent and to grow and build your own finance. But I would come home from work, I would come home from school and mom and dad would be fighting, and I literally would run straight to the TV and go and watch Disney. And that was my life. Disney was my happy place. Like, I am obsessed with Disney. I know every single Disney song. But what happened during that time, which I now know, which I didn't know back then, is I role modeled Disney. And Belle from Beauty and the Beast was my role model. I copied everything that she did. And that's who I grew up believing I wanted to be. And Belle felt like she didn't belong in her town that she grew up in, and that's why she went and lived with the Beast. Well, we know the story when she went to the Beast and stayed there, but she always felt like she was a misfit in the village. And that's how I felt in Dubai. I felt like a misfit, and I'm like, I don't belong here. So when I was 14 years old, we came to Australia on a family holiday, and I just went, this is where I want to be. And I begged my parents to send me to boarding school. which they did. They said yes. So I moved here at 14 years old, at the time, 15 years old, went to boarding school in Australia while parents were still living back in Dubai. And then another thing that I role modeled from Belle was reading. She loved to read. And whenever something would get down or something would happen, she would read. And that's what I did. I read so much. And growing up, I read lots of books. And the biggest thing that I copied from Belle was my dating life. Oh my goodness. I kept dating potential. So if you look at the story of Beauty and the Beast, she fell in love with the Beast, who then turned into Prince Charming. Now, every single track record of everyone that I've dated, they had kind hearts, they were beautiful, but you wouldn't really say they were the Channing Tatum, looks. Sorry about ex-boyfriends if you're listening to this. I love you and appreciate you, but they didn't really have that model look, because the model look I always looked at in Gaston and Beauty and the Beast was arrogant and too full of themselves. And that's how Gaston showed in Beauty and the Beast. So I never spoke to any good looking guys. I already perceived who I thought they were. So I went for guys that had kind hearts, but weren't there yet in terms of like growth and development. So I wanted to push that out of them and push that potential, because in the end of Beauty and the Beast, she turns him into Prince Charming. And that's basically how I was living my life, from relationship to relationship. And yeah, a bit of a nutshell of how I grew up in Dubai and then moved to Australia. And then, I can keep going.
I'm getting heaps of notes. This is amazing. I've got some questions for you already, but keep going. Those are good.
Love it. And basically went to school in Australia, graduated, took a year gap, traveled around the world, realized I really missed Australia, and Australia was home. So came back here. As you said, I studied counseling and behavior management. And then I went off and worked as a counselor for a few years. And when I was working as a counselor, I was one of those counselors who was so good at helping other people, but I forgot to put my own oxygen mask on. And I was giving the oxygen mask to everyone else. So I actually became quite unhealthy in myself. I was overweight. I was a size 16. If you see me now, I'm now a size 8. I was a smoker and relied on coffee for energy. And that's when I actually fell into network marketing. And I just started because these products were going around and was like, try this system. And I jumped on board and fell in love with the products. That's what helped me go from size 16 to 8. And I went, this is really amazing. And just started like sharing it with people as well and giving back to what had happened to me. And before I knew it, I was actually helping more people on this system than I was as a counselor. So I dived into it, learned more, dived into the skills. And within 6 months, it actually replaced my counseling wage. And I'm like, this is something. So I quit my job. I started working in network marketing for about 6 years, and it gave me the life of freedom. In that time, I traveled again. I then wrote a book. I did a 100-kilometer ultra marathon, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
And now live life. I love it. You just
living life. And now following my passion, like now I'm back into counseling with my own business, but on my own terms, and working with people that really want the help.
Incredible. Thank you. That was an incredible intro. Thank you. We'll just start with that next time. I'd love to hear, I would love to dive into relationships. It's a topic I'm pretty interested in. We were kind of talking about it before we jumped on this podcast over social media. There's a point that you said, it's like the guys you were dating originally, the non, I guess, attractive ones, they just didn't have it inside them. They hadn't brought it out of them yet. They weren't the confident man that you were looking for. There's a quote that off Tony Robbins' movie that I'm sure you would have watched, and he says, heal the boy and the man will appear. So how does that resonate with you? How do you do that? If you were to say there's a lady watching this right now, and she's got that kind boyfriend who's got that sweetheart, got that beautiful energy, got that beautiful intention about them, but maybe they are struggling to step into their confident side, which I can actually relate to. That's probably why I'm asking the question, is how would you do that? Because I've been that nice guy. I've been the people pleaser, and it's like I've always been the sweet, like during school, I was always friends with the girls. All the girls were best friends with me, and I wasn't friends with the boys too much for whatever reason. So point of the question is, how do you do that with through your counseling, through your program, through your teaching, through your book, possibly? How do you do that?
I love that question. And here's something that I've learned over time. We cannot change people. And it's not our responsibility to go out there and help people change and heal. People need to take ownership and responsibility on that in themselves. So the only way to do it is by looking in yourself first and changing you and leading by example. What I have noticed and what I have found in people that I work with and in myself as well is we actually attract our reflection.
Ooh, I
So
like that.
ooh, we do. There's something in them, and there's a reason why we attract them. I'm sure you've heard it. Your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And it's so true. Your vibe does attract your tribe. But looking in relationships, when you get annoyed at something, why are you annoyed at that? Why? Is it something in you that's just triggered? Because chances are you're getting annoyed at something in yourself. And then you see a behavior in someone. It's actually a reflection on how we show up. You wouldn't have attracted a person in your life unless that's how you were showing up. So what I would say to that question is, if you want somebody to change something in you first. Lead by example. Do you? And if they follow, amazing. Like, I remember one of my exes was not into personal development whatsoever. And I was on this journey of growing personal development. And there was this event that I really wanted him to go to. And I could have been like, hey, like, come with me to this event. I really want you to go. Like, this would be amazing for you. I didn't do that because by this time I'd already had so much growth. This was my ex-boyfriend, or my amazing man now. And what I actually did was, because I've pressured people before and I've dragged them along the way and I've dragged them to come on this journey with me. And when you actually look at it, it's quite unfair because it's exhausting for them. They're constantly feeling like, I'm not good enough. Here I am trying and doing this, but now, like, I look at my ex-boyfriends, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for them. I drag them, and here they are feeling like they're treading on water. I'm trying to do this, but I'm still not good enough. So rather than dragging, go first. So what I did was I actually bought a ticket for me. And I was like, hey, I'm going to this event. I don't know if you're free, but I bought a ticket for me and I'm going. So just letting you know. And then they're like, oh, I'm actually free that weekend. I want to come with you. Cool. Awesome. Let's grab your ticket and go. So lead by example, go first rather than pressuring and getting them to change. You change you.
Before I ask the next question, just something you said then that makes sense to me is from DeMartini. The way he teaches a similar, I guess, lesson. He says you attract the people or the traits or that show up in people. You attract the people to help you love the parts that you haven't owned yet. So if say you're insecure about your image, you'll attract someone who's confident with their image. If you're insecure about your money, you'll attract the opposites, right? Opposites attract. Just something, and they attract not just relationship, but friendships, employees, co-workers, business partners. You attract people to trigger you, to show you parts of yourself that you haven't learned to love yet. So that's kind of where that popped up when you were talking. When you say go first, I'm a practical guy. You said at the start, you don't like structure. I'm the fucking opposite. I love structure. So when you said that, I was like,
oh, this must be challenging for you then, because I said, let's not plan anything. Let's just go.
I like the flow in it, but in life, like business and my day, I'm a structured little man. When you say go first, that sounds very amazing. But if I'm Sally behind the phone or listening to this podcast, like, you know what? I'm going to work on me. What would you do? Is there an event that you would recommend? Is there a book that you would recommend? Obviously your own. We can go in that way. But where would you literally start? Because if I'm at home right now, I've just listened to that line and I've resonated with that. I'm like, you know what? I am going to put myself first. Where would you start?
Great question. And it's so broad and there's so much out there, which I love. See, I'm not going to recommend my book because my book is specifically for people going through breakups. If you're not going through a breakup, that's not the book for you. So much, I see it so much in life. People are reading things because someone recommends that book to read. So I go, okay, I'll read it. But is that something in your life you want to work on? Is that something you want to change? Usually, and people love to start something and then finish it. So they end up spending like weeks and weeks and weeks reading a book they don't even resonate with because something in them goes, I have to finish it. And they've wasted all this time trying to finish a book when they begin spending a time working on something that they want to work on that's really going to help them progress. So probably backtracking a little, but I would say first, a best place to start if we're talking on relationships is writing your list. Like, what is it that you actually want in a relationship? So what I did, and this is how I attracted my amazing man, and no joke, his list, he wrote it 4 months before him and I got together. And when you read his list, it is me to a T.
I love that.
And my list is him to a T. And basically, a lot of life, we know what we don't want. And we know what we don't want because we learn from our past experiences. So it's so easy to write the list of what you don't want, but getting more clear on what you want as well. So having both. So what we recommend doing is writing a list of what you want and what you don't want. And then you have 2 categories, which is the non-negotiable. Those are your non-negotiables. Like, I will not, if I have on the list on there, like, don't want to lie. And then I meet someone who lies, but I'm like, oh, but I think I love him, but they lie. No, it is the non-negotiable. They are lying right now. So basically, if I accept them for lying, I've just disrespected me and my values and what's important to me. So that's why it's really important to write the list of your non-negotiables and then your negotiables, right? Like, bad breath in the morning. It's okay. Like, it's all right. Like, I would prefer they didn't have bad breath, but if they had bad breath, I can deal with that, because in life there is going to come, we can work on it.
We can train that, right? We can train that habit.
Yeah, of course. We'll just keep some minties on the side of the bed. But there's not, like, non-negotiables and negotiables. Now, here's the thing. Once you've written the list, this is where the work starts. Look at the list and then ask yourself this: am I being those qualities?
Nice.
Let's say you have something on the list, like you want someone to be honest. Are you being honest? Are you showing up as honest? When you say something to yourself, when you're going to do something, do you go and do that? Because if you don't go and do that, now you're being dishonest to yourself. So when that happens and you look at the list, guaranteed there will be something on the list that you're not showing up as. That's when you know that's the thing to work on. So if it's honesty and you go, oh my gosh, I'm actually not being honest with myself, go and find books. Go and listen to podcasts that can help develop those skills on how to trust yourself, how to trust and be honest with you. And now you know what books to pick up. Now you know what to listen to. Then you can focus on that rather than this here, everywhere. Focus on the one thing and do the work, and then move to the next. So that's where I would start.
I love that. I just love your energy. It's just so captivating. I love it. I would love to know this scenario. Someone's in a relationship, because it's like I've heard versions of this, and I want your perspective on it. Is like, you're in a relationship and there's signs, red flags. It's just there's not alignment, and it's not working out. How do you navigate between whether it's salvageable, you can work through it, and maybe there's just some things that are miscommunicated, or there's some work they could be doing to fix it, or you know what, this is the wrong person? How do you decipher between the two? And if it's a no, time to get rid of them, how do you navigate through that?
Great question. And it's being aware and learning what those red flags are. And it's different for everyone, right? There's not one shoe that fits everyone. So literally that question, I would say, is going back to that list, because everyone's list is going to look different. Like, my non-negotiables would be different to your non-negotiables. And if it's in that list of your non-negotiables, ask yourself the question, like, why did I put that on there? Is this something I can live with? And be real and raw with yourself, because sometimes we can lie to ourselves and we can just hope and hope and hope and hope, like, maybe, just maybe it might get better, and spend years of our life hoping, and maybe one thing might get better, but it may not be the thing on your non-negotiable list. And that may just keep you there a little bit on float, but doesn't it mean it's still disrespecting your values and who you are? So I honestly would say, Lewis, with that, is going back to the list. That's why it's so important to have it, it's like, if you don't have the list, it's basically like getting in a car and being like, right now, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get to your house, Lewis. And you told me you lived in Pimpama. So I'm like, okay, cool. You gave me the address, but I don't put in the maps. I just kind of have it in my head of this is where you live. And now I'm driving, but I'm guessing where I'm going. There's nothing navigating me or showing me where I'm going. I'm just driving. And what's going to happen along the way is I'm going to hit some speed bumps. I'm going to take some wrong turns. And it's definitely going to take me longer to get to your house than it would if I had my maps on.
Absolutely.
So the list is your map. Write that list if you want to get to that destination, and stay clear to it and be honest and real with yourself. So if there's someone showing up in your life who is on your non-negotiable where those red flags are coming up with, ask yourself, why am I staying?
How do you help people get out of their head to do it? And before you answer that question, is I've got a lot of clients that I've worked with over the years, just from the gyms, and then obviously personally mentoring them. And there's so many that are in a relationship where it's like there's goods of it, but there's a lot of bads. But it's they're too afraid, or they're not prepared to go through the pain part of the breakup, because they're comfortable, they're scared they'll be alone forever, they won't find another man. I'm sure you've heard all the above. It's like, how do you get those people to get the courage or the confidence, or maybe just the plan? Like, how would you get someone, say, a lady's in a relationship, and she's even got kids, they've got a house together, and her heart says this person's the wrong person, the love list doesn't, or the non-negotiables don't add up. There's some good, but it's the wrong person. How do you help people get through that decision part, or I don't know how you'd explain that, but how would you get them from just wanting to doing it?
Great question. And that's one of the hardest things in life, is letting go. It's super challenging, and we hold on and hold on and hold on. So like, letting go is a skill. And the way that I like to look at skill is, I know we're on video right now, but asking you this right now is like, I'm holding up a glass of water. How much do you think this water weighs?
200, 300 grams.
200, 300 grams. What if I hold this glass for about 10 minutes?
It would start to get heavy.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter how much the water weighs. What matters is how long I hold on to it for. So if I hold on to this for a week, a month, a year, it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And eventually I'll end up dropping it because I cannot hold on anymore. And it's going to smash and shatter and cause a mess. And that's what happens to something when we hold on to it for too long, when we know we should let go. What if I just went, you know what? I'm just going to put this down. Maybe even give myself a break. I can pick it up again if I want to, right? But I just need to have a bit of a break. I'm just going to put it down, or I can just leave it down permanently. And as soon as I put it down, I know you can hear the glass, I'm putting glass down. And as soon as I put it down, I now feel lighter. I've let go, and this weight has just lifted off of me. But if I don't let it go and I hold on to it, gets to that point of exhaustion and pain, and I drop it and it smashes, that's where shit gets messy. That's where you have a horrible breakup, where either someone cheats or you fight, and you end up ruining a relationship that could actually turn into a beautiful friendship. You can break up consciously and have a beautiful breakup and still remain friends after the breakup period has ended, and I worked through 5 stages, and you've worked through the 5 stages of the breakup, and then you can bring yourself back together and be friends. But if you hold on to something for too long, it will end messy. So just being able to remember that analogy, and it's okay. It's okay to let go and just trust the process. What will be, will be.
What's the biggest difference between a relationship that gets messy and a beautiful breakup? Because you're absolutely right. I've got past partners that I'm really good friends with. My current partner, it's actually her stretch coach. So it's like, my old partner is my stretch coach for my current partner, and I'm still good friends with that person. Like, there's no spite, there's no negative energy there. So if it's those 5 steps you may be alluding to, but what's the biggest difference between a beautiful breakup and a not so beautiful one, a bit of a messy one?
All right. I'll give you examples because I've been there. I've had them. And the only reason I'm sharing this is because I've learned. And I've learned through experience of being there myself. So a messy breakup that I was in an extremely toxic relationship. Now, this relationship, I'm going to go back because this is really important. This relationship, I had no self-worth. I had no self-love. Every single people that I was dating, I would jump from relationship to relationship because I was looking for men to love me and give me that validation. So basically, when I got into this relationship, he didn't have any self-love either. Because remember, I said we attract, right? So he was insecure, I was insecure. And what happened was we created a codependent relationship. He was a half a person, I was a half a person, and together we came a whole. Right? I'm like, he was my whole world. I could see, I'm like, I can't live without him. He's my whole world. We were so codependent on each other. And whenever shit would get messy and we would fight, and it was like physical fight. He hit me, I hit him, I threw things, he threw things at me. Like it was horrible. And it was bringing the worst out on each other. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. We were just not right for each other because we were bringing out the worst on each other of our insecurities. And basically we would break up. And as soon as we break up, it'd be like, oh, I love him so much. I miss him. I need to get back together with him. We were so codependent that we'd get back. We literally broke up and got back together about 6 times. And then it got to the point where in my head, I'm like, okay, for this to end, it needs to end bad. It's weird how we do this. We don't really know we're doing it, but it's like, it just needs to be horrible so we can just let each other go. And I cheated. I did. I did. I went and did that because I wanted to create him to hate me and this anger for us to be like, it's all over, right? It's done now. I've done that. We can't go back. If you ruin it so much, you go, I can't go back now. It's done. So I felt like I ruined it. So it was done. And when that happened, and he did as well, by the way. So here's the funny thing, we both did. And then when we found out and blah, 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 it just turned into this massive fight. And that was it. He was gone. And I, in that moment, was like, I need to go and pack my bags. And I literally packed all my bags. I was living in a small country town at the time. I literally packed up all my bags and I left. I quit my job. I left and I moved back to the Gold Coast. And that was a horrible, messy breakup. We still don't talk now. I've sent a few messages now and we've just, because when we broke up, it was still toxic that we would write to each other. And I actually even flew back to go see him again. And then we had another fight. And then I had to say to him, this is when my whole healing journey started. And I sent a message and I said, if you really love me, you will let me go. And that was the message. And I said, if you really love me, you'll let me go. I cannot speak to you. I need time to heal. And that was it. But 2 weeks later, he sent me a message. And when he sent me a message, I'm like, you damn it, disrespected me. I asked you not to send me a message and you sent me a message. So like sending that message is so important because if they disrespect it, you're kind of like, well, they just disrespected me after I said, please don't contact me. So for me, I'm like, I'm not going to reply. I'm going on my healing journey. And that's where I decided to be single for a whole year. I didn't date anyone, nothing for a whole year. And I worked on myself and I got clear on what I wanted. And I really became whole in me. Rather than looking for someone else to complete me, I completed myself. And then I attracted someone where we had a good relationship. Not great, good. And it was really like we were more closer friends than we were as lovers. But we dated for 2 years and we dated for 2 years and we had the most healthiest breakup. He actually came to me and was like, hey, I actually don't think I love you anymore. And I said, okay, like, let's sit down and we'll chat about this and see where we want to go. And then we had a chat and we spoke about it and turned out I didn't love him either. Like we were just mates and we were just holding on because it had been 2 years and we got comfortable and we were complacent. And we're just like it's comfortable. We live with each other. Breaking up it seems a little bit hard. You have to move houses. If you have kids, it's like, what do we do with the kids? Are we staying together for the kids? Like, I watch my family stay together for us and then go through a horrible, messy divorce. Horrible. They don't even speak anymore. And that was amazing breakup. And today we're still friends. Like, I can pick up the phone right now and call him. We were just at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and Reese was there, and he was there, and he came over, and Reese is my boyfriend now, and he came over, and we were chatting, and we're having this like amazing conversation together. And that's what happens when you have amazing, healthy breakups.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable and actually sharing the reality of it. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to everything that you have said. To start to wrap it up, I'd love to actually like to know, because results come from consistent habits, doing things consistently, all the little things. What are the details or the habits that you do consistently to maintain your current happy relationship? Whether that be things you say to each other, a date night, or some, not necessarily just a date night, but a routine where you'd consciously do things together. Like, relationships take effort at the end of the day. It's like anything in life. A business requires effort and constant little things. So what do you do? What do you and Reese do together consistently to maintain such a beautiful, vibrant relationship?
I love this. Great question. So the thing with Reese and I is we've done so much growth and personal development, not together, but separately. So when I attracted Reese in my life, I was a whole and he was whole. So coming into this relationship, like, we have a beautiful relationship. There is not one single thing that I would change about him. And that's a key right there. I don't look at him and be like, oh, but only if this. Oh, but only if that. No, I accept him for who he is in this present moment. And I would not change a single thing. And that is amazing when you can do that and accept that. So basically, the habits that we have and what we've created together, there's a few things. And this is so important. It's actually really, and we discussed this, we're like, babe, if something comes up, let's nail it in the butt right now. Nice. It's so crucial to work on those little things, because those little things, if you don't work on it, then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? It's like holding it on. You hold on to it, right? Something happens and you hold on to that thought. And then that one thought can lead to something else and lead to something else. And then all of a sudden you will explode and have a huge fight. So it's tackling when it comes right there. Nail it in the butt. And that's a commitment that we've made to ourselves, and we have stuck by it.
I love that.
But it's also it's also how you bring it up. That's the next thing. Because when you have the discussion, you never want to put blame and blame that person. It's about taking responsibility and ownership as well. And how someone acts is not who they are. It's not their soul.
Could you give me an example? Like, what's an example? Like, say he was doing, say I'm Reese and I'm doing something that's annoying you or something that's triggered you. How would you communicate that to me?
Oh, I'll give you a hilarious one, because this one happened recently. And I'm sure a lot of women on here can relate. So, toilet situation. Yeah. Toilet situation. I don't care about toilet seat up and down, whatever, right? There's no right or wrong. Like, I don't know who made that up, right? We don't have any arguments about those things. Those are the little things. I'm not going to nitpick on that. It doesn't matter. That's when it becomes too naggy. I'm like, no, it's easy for me to just go and close the toilet seat down. But this one, so leaving little marks.
Amazing.
Not looking before you flush the toilet. And because you do get a bit grossed out, and you want to still have some amazing love and romance. It's a bit gross and you don't want to feel that way. So basically that happened. And it's so funny because that was the first thing on my mind. It happened recently.
Thank you for sharing.
But basically,
Reese loves you so much right now as well. Thank you for listening.
Oh, whatever, we all do it. So anyway, so basically, it's apart from the cleaning, the cleaning is important. So basically I went to the toilet, I saw it, and I walked out and I said, this is how we have discussions. I said, babe, can I book an appointment? And this is important to say that. Babe, can I book an appointment? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, when are you free? He's like, I'm free now. And the reason I say, can we book an appointment, is because I don't want to have a chat to him about something when he's got something going on and his mind's somewhere else. Because if he's stressed out and I have a chat when he's stressed out, it's not going to end up being a healthy chat. So
Awesome.
booking an appointment is super important to make sure we're both clear that we're about to have a chat. So I'm like, babe, can I have an appointment? And he's like, yeah, sure, babe. You want to have it now? I'm like, yeah, let's have it now. And then I was like, when I go to the toilet, it makes me feel, okay? It makes me feel a little bit engrossed out when I see that your behavior, not who you are, that your behavior forgets to look and clean before someone else comes. And this is what we've learned. He'll just listen, because men are so quick and they just want to give advice. And don't get me wrong, this was something we had to really learn. And sometimes he still does it. He really wants to help and give advice. Is that he'll just listen to it, and he'll listen to it and be like, okay, babe. And he'll reflect back on me. And he'll be like, let me just get this clear. When I went to the toilet and didn't clean properly, it made you feel gross. I said, yes. He goes, all right, I'll take that on board. And next time I won't do it again.
Awesome.
I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, babe. And he hasn't. So it's just the conversation. Or the opposite way is I could have just walked out and be like, oh my God, babe, you are such a pig. You are so gross. Like, I don't get it. Why all these men and go in the toilet and not clean it? It's not hard. What's wrong with you? Why don't you use your brain? Like, imagine how that conversation would have gone down.
Something that me and Georgia do, and it's a slight version of that, is whenever there's a tough conversation, we always say courageous conversation, open, honest communication. So, hey, babe, can we have a really open, honest conversation, and book in a time to do it? And when Georgia, just like you said, guys are problem solvers. Gentlemen, your better half just wants to feel heard and understood. So hey, Georgia, hey, babe, do you want to solve the problem, or would you like to express how you're feeling? And I'm just like Reese. Sometimes I still try to solve the fucking problem before she's expressed herself. So just something from my experience as well is exactly that: is let your partner vent or express how they're feeling. Let them get all the way out. Don't solve the problem straight away. Just listen, understand, and then get into the problem solving part of it. But
yes,
can certainly relate.
It's really important. Women want to be seen, right? We want to be heard.
Yeah. How I haven't got any more deeper questions for you. Just overall, any overall tips or tools that you'd like to end this with about creating a healthy relationship?
Yes, great question. I guess the other thing that I didn't add, but you mentioned it, is that we do date night, and that's our non-negotiable. So every single Friday we do date night, and that's important for us because that's where we have our connection time. We're not on our phones, we hang out, we got asked great quality questions. And because honestly, the conversation will only go with the questions that you ask yourself. So definitely scheduling that in and making that a priority. It is a priority before anything else. It is so important to look after your relationship and nurture it. That would be a huge one to do. And I had one, but I've just lost it. It was a really good one.
if it comes to you during the outro, just chime back in again. But Mel, thank you. I've got heaps of value from this, and guarantee the people listening to have as well. If anyone would like to contact you, if anyone's interested in you, your content, your book, your podcast, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? What's the best platform for you?
Great question. I love it. Thanks. And it came back to me. I remembered.
What is it?
So I'll
share what it is and then answer that.
Okay, I'll quickly share it because it's so important, and it's something that I'll just go and recommend doing. Going and reading the book Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham.
Nice.
Such a great book because it's working together as a couple. We're a team. So figuring out what is it that we're actually good at, because when we think that this is how we think that's how our partner should think, but we don't think the same. And we think one way is like, oh, if I'm good at that, then why aren't they good at that? But it's not like that. We're good at different things. So finding out your strength really help, and also help your partner find their strength, and then asking yourself, how can we put that together and work with each other? Sorry, that was key and it's so important. I really wanted to mention that because that's changed so much for Reese and I.
It was a burning desire. You had to share it.
I had to share it.
And so how can people find you?
Yeah, so great. I love it. So where people can find me is you can check out my Instagram. It's the Mel Fernandaz, or you can add me on Facebook, Melissa Fernandez. I also have a podcast that I recently launched 2 weeks ago now called Rediscover You. So yeah, go check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Reach out to Mel if you've got any questions. If you've got any value, share it with someone. Remember, teach one, give one. If there's someone that you think will get some value from this, please send it through to them. Have an epic day. See you guys on the next episode. Mwah.